when Clay died, Clay was my sniper partner. I think so. Clay had been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. He'd been shot when we were in Iraq. So he was combat wounded. He had a clinical diagnosis for post-traumatic stress PTSD. And he was struggling with that, but he was also like an outspoken advocate for getting help. He was doing all the right things. He was going and seeing a counselor. He was on various medications. I think, there was an issue with that, right? I think he was probably over medicated, but I'm not a doctor. And so I don't want to necessarily like cast aspersions there around what
Right.
should not have been happening with that. But I think at the core of Clay's experience, and I think that this extends to many other veterans, was that he lacked life's most fundamental need, which was purpose in life. And I think that we
Oh,
don't talk enough about that, right? These men and women, they join the military at this formative age, often like 18 years old, right out of high school. And they're given this mission, they're given this uniform, this rank and a title, and they're maybe respected for the first time in their life. So they're told they're worth something for the first time in their life. And they go overseas and they fight for their country and they have these men and women around them they can count on. And then they get out of the military and it's all gone, right? They get out.
right.
Maybe they're as lucky as I am. They have all 10 fingers and all 10 toes. And maybe they go get a job, but they don't have purpose anymore. And man, that's a fucking cliff to fall off of at that moment when you're 22, 24 years old, and all of a sudden that all gets ripped out of you. And
Right.
so I think, we have spent 2 decades now focusing on access to healthcare, education benefits, employment in the veteran space, all really fundamental things. But we haven't spent enough time addressing that lack of purpose that they experience when they come home. And I think that's where we need to be focusing our efforts.
That is so well said, Jake. Yes, and it makes total sense. And then you had an aha moment of a purpose for yourself and to how to utilize the strengths that you have learned along with other, soldiers. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So about 60 days after I got out of the Marine Corps, I was sitting around and the Haiti earthquake happened. And wanting to be helpful, I tried calling a couple of the organizations that I knew were down there. And with much, I'm sure, bluster and bravado as a young 27-year-old, I told them how awesome I was and how they needed me down in Port-au-Prince to help run their operations. And of course, they all said, "Hey, idiot, thanks, but no thanks. Why don't you just hang up and text us $10?" And that didn't quite sit well with me. So I called a bunch of guys I served with, and about 3 days later, we ended up in Port-au-Prince, running medical triage operations in the city. We were taking these doctors to these hardest hit areas of the city, and we realized that all we were doing was using the skills and experiences we gained in the military to help in this circumstance. And so, kind of the light bulb went on for us, and we came back after about 3 weeks on the ground, and we incorporated as a nonprofit organization with this concept of let's recruit these 3 million men and women who've served since 9/11, and let's put their skills to use to help people after disasters. And
Genius.
I mean, honestly, it's hard to even imagine, but I've been doing that now for 11 years, which is terrifying because it seems like it was just yesterday, but it's been a wild ride, and we've been doing that ever since.